Kia ora koutou katoa, and welcome to the very first of our online tutorials for the Stop Smoking Practitioners Program. My name is Edward and I will be one of the people taking you through the program today. My colleague is...
My name is Grant. Kia ora. As Edward said, we're here at Inspiring under the banner of NTS, National Training Service, and one of our roles here is to help stop smoking practitioners right across New Zealand get through the qualification, the Stop Smoking Practitioners Program, as quickly and effort-free as we can possibly make it.
Okay, so one of the objectives of this tutorial is to be able to go through the assessment task and to give you some pointers on what the assessors are looking for, and just to give you a guide on how you should be answering some of the questions and what we're actually looking for. That way, when you start the assessment task, you'll have an idea of a way to complete it. So we're hoping that this will only be, we're going to spend around 20 minutes with you while we get this underway. So first of all, we're going to go through the assessment tasks and what we'll be talking about today in this session. So I'm just going to go through. There we go. So today we'll be looking at assessment task 1, which is professional and ethical behaviour.
And it's important to remember that when you're doing the Stop Smoking Practitioners Program, or the SSPP as we call it for short, you don't have to start on task 1, then task 2, then task 3, and so on. You can do task 9 first, then go back to task 5, and then complete task 2. You can do them in any order that best suits your workload and what you need to know right now.
Okay, but I guess a good thing before we start any of the tutorials, all the assessment tasks, is to actually read the assessment task, because what often happens is people try and skim through, and it's probably best that you read the whole thing from start to finish, and that way you get an idea of what the task is about. So today we'll be talking about professional ethical behaviour, and it's going to achieve some unit standards for you to 8542, which is level 3. It'll be 5 credits. So the objective of this tutorials task, as you can see there, is to demonstrate and apply knowledge of a professional and ethical behaviour in a health or well-being setting.
And remember too, when you do this, I mean, there are 9 assessment tasks for people doing the full program, and we know you're very busy people, but the point of doing these is it's about learning, and you'll learn a lot of really useful information and get a lot of really great learning about how you should approach work in a health setting. So that's what it's about. It's about learning.
Right, so this is really the rationale of this task, as you can see there, is you know, it's all about the role that you have as a stop smoking practitioner, and things that you need to sort of, you know, behave, the way you should behave ethically and professionally. So this is about your individual organisation's rules and codes that they work under, that suits your employer, that your employer uses, as well as what fits in the criteria with New Zealand law.
So what you'll be doing, what you'll be learning through this assessment task is what it means in your workplace and in your role to be a professional. You'll learn what ethics are. A lot of people are a bit unsure about what ethics mean. What does it mean to be unethical? And also you'll need to talk about your responsibilities where you're working in your community, that what you're doing in your work is ethical. So that's pretty much what it is.
So, Grant, what is being ethical then?
Okay, simply put, it's a legal term, and it comes from the legal profession, where they must take an oath to remain ethical at all times. So ethical means knowing the rules or the policies or the law, so you know what they are, and you choose always to do the right thing.
Right.
So an example of being ethical would be if you're in your workplace one day and all your colleagues are out of the office, and then your manager comes in and says, I'm going to an important meeting, and you know you've got 2 hours in your office for free, where no one's going to be catching you doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. So you have a choice then. You can either jump onto Facebook or jump onto Trade Me and spend 2 hours of your boss's time to look at Trade Me, for instance. You know it's wrong, but you choose to do it anyway.
Right.
So that is unethical. You're not really hurting anyone, but you are stealing time from your boss. So it's an unethical approach. The ethical approach would be to know that everyone's out of the building, that you can do anything you want, but you choose to do the right thing and do your work.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm now a little bit more clear on ethical behaviour.
And you won't be going on Facebook anytime soon at the office, will you, Edward?
Oh, I won't. I will not. Okay, so I guess if people are not familiar with our website, there's the location there, www.nts.org.nz. If you click on that, you will come up to our homepage, which is what we're showing there. So I'm just going to click out of this and I'm going to open our website, and then you'll be able to see what it will look like when you go to open it. So this is what the website currently looks like when you open it. There we go. So I'm just going to make this just a little bit bigger. Oh, there we go. So this is what it will look like when you open it. And what we're looking for is up here, you've got the tabs up there. We've got Home, About NTS, the Alliance, and the SSPP. So really SSPP, and there's resources, and there's a contact us page. So if you want to get hold of us for any reason, you can find all our details on the contact us. But for the purpose of opening up the assessment task 1, we would come along to SSPP, which is the Stop Smoking Practitioners Program. We would click on that. There'll be a drop-down box. And for most people, you'll be on the full program. So we will click full program. And when we click full program, all the assessment tasks come up. So we're actually going to be concentrating on this one today, assessment task 1. And all of the learning resources, which are just all here where you can see my cursor. So everything you need to complete task 1 is under this heading. That's what you'll need to read. It has an introduction, the New Zealand Code of Rights, making it easy to put the code into action. That is a really good thing there, the Career Force Professional Ethical Behaviour Learning Guide, because that will go through the assessment tasks the same as, you get some good hints there. So under there is the SSPP task tutorial. That's our old one. So after we've done this, we'll be able to update it with the new one. In order to access the assessment task, you'll have to click on assessment task. If you click on the assessment tasks, what that does is that will download a document, which is the actual assessment task. And when you open it up, opening shortly, you will get the full assessment task. So I'm just going to close off that share screen now.
So let's minimize this first.
Yeah.
The Career Force Learning Guide.
Okay, so Career Force Learning Guide. We're going to open that. So that's just downloading. It'll open up.
Okay, so it makes it much easier to complete the SSP assessment tasks if you browse or have a thorough read, if you've got the time, of the learning guides, because they're written to help people put down the correct answers for each particular task. And this is where the learning comes from. So don't be shy of having a look at them. So if we just scroll up through that, Edward, we'll just briefly point out what's in here. I keep going, so I'll just go to the cursor. So here you are. So it tells you how to use your learning guides, what you're going to be learning, and then it gives you a clear understanding of what professionalism means in a workplace. It's your attitude and how you see others, how you deal with conflicts at work, your values, how you communicate with people at work. So being professional in communication means to always be polite, no bad language in the workplace, if you feel that you're getting angry, you contain that anger and you choose not to be angry in the workplace. All of these things are about being professional.
Right. Okay, so there are some good characteristics of being professional: to be trustworthy, competent, respectful, act with integrity, and be considerate of others.
And then there's another explanation of what ethics are and examples of what ethical behaviour can look like.
Okay. So each of our organisations will work to a code. So you need to find out what code your organisation works under. So there are examples of the different codes: Health and Disability Services Consumers' Rights, there's a Privacy Act, there's Health and Disability Sector Standards.
And there's also your organisational codes as well, which fit into that. So Kaupapa Māori Stop Smoking Services, they have their own codes that they require people to work under in an Ao Māori perspective. So these are all codes that will keep you ethical and accountable and honest in your work.
Right, so there's different, of course we have different ethical responsibilities to different, different sorts of people. So as a community member, the different types of people who you might support. So that's what makes for really good reading, because there's some good examples of what unethical behaviour is. So if you're doing any of these things under the unethical behaviour list, chances are you're probably doing it incorrectly. Workplace codes, codes of rights, the purpose of the codes. So you'll be able to go through this in your own time. It's an easy read, it's not too difficult. So actually once you've kind of had a quick read of it, we'll be able to sort of start with the actual assessment task. Okay, close out of that. What do we actually look for now, Grant? The actual assessment task. Okay. So easy. Here we go. I'm just going to open the share screen so that we can look at the full assessment task. Nice, there we have it. So before you start, we talked about it before, that's the Career Force Learning Guide. So you have a look at that and so review that, have a bit of a look at that. Then it's pretty straightforward in terms of the introduction. You'd have to put your name, your email address, the day you did the assessment. It's good to read this. If we look at this part one, for this task, you will need to show your understanding of your responsibilities to behave professionally and ethically. So this is the stuff that you personally need to be aware of. So there'll be your organisational code that works under, that you work under, and your organisation's policies and procedures. So I would expect that if we all work at different organisations, we all have different ways of doing things. So therefore, all these answers may be the same or maybe still slightly different depending on your organisation's policy. So we have a look at question number one: what does professional behaviour look like in your organisation? So if we're sort of looking at that, it's asking us, about your organisational policies and procedures, and outline what you need to do to be professional at work. So what might be some of the things you would look at when you're being professional at work, Grant?
Okay, so an example of that, so your workplace might require you to always wear a uniform, for instance, when you visit a client. So it would be unprofessional if you turned up in jeans and a sweatshirt and you didn't have your organisation's required T-shirt with the logo on it, showing who you were. That's a small part of being professional.
So if I wrote, for me to wear my work uniform, that would be okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, what's something else I could
So
maybe?
Being professional is if you have an appointment at 9 o'clock, you turn up at 9 o'clock. You don't turn up at 20 past 9 or 9:30. You turn up at 9.
So you need to be on time?
Be on time.
Yep.
You need to be organised. So you need to have all your resources with you. You need to have all your clients' case notes with you. You need to have read those case notes so you know who you're meeting. So being organised is part of being professional.
Oh, okay. So those are maybe those three things: to be organised and be prepared. I guess the last thing you'd want is to turn up and you pull out the wrong case notes with the wrong person's name on, and that would be
you don't have any case notes at all.
Right. Okay.
And you probably have all worked with people who are always late, and that drives the clients crazy. It drives the managers crazy, and it drives the people that are working around code. So it's unprofessional. So this is what we're talking about.
Okay, so would that be okay for model answer or mock answer for someone question 1?
Absolutely, and you can, if the question asks you to put 3 examples, you can put 3, but you can also put in more if it's really important to you.
Okay, nice. So that's a good example there. If we're looking at what ethical behaviour looks like in your organisation, then, okay, so here's an example of what you just said. So describe the characteristics of ethical behaviour and provide 2 examples of how you demonstrate them in your work. So what might that look like, Grant?
So an example of being ethical in your work would be that if I make a mistake in my work, then I'm upfront about it. I report my mistake to my manager, and I don't try to blame someone else for an error I have made. So that's it. So you've got the choice of either blaming someone else or denying you did it, or which is unethical, or you've got the choice of owning up and saying, yeah, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, it's my fault.
Okay, great.
Another example of how you would be ethical in your, or show ethical behaviour, is if someone in your workplace did something really great and you claimed it as your own. You probably know of people who have done that, where they've maybe written something really, really good, and later someone has downloaded it from the workplace files and used it as their own.
Right.
So that's unethical that they've done.
Okay. So there we go. So that's not ethical behaviour. So claiming work that's not as your own, so that's sort of really kind of being a bit fraudulent, really, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's being, yeah.
So it's not being honest.
Not being honest, being truthful. So remember that ethics is all about knowing what's right and knowing what's wrong, and always choosing to do the right thing, even if it's inconvenient for you.
Right. Okay, so then this one here will be different. Question 3, what code applies to your ethical behaviour in your organisation? So all you need to do is tick the one that your organisation works under, which is pretty straightforward.
In the work we do, most of us would fall under the Code of Health and Disability Services Consumers Code of Rights. So that is the one that most of us would choose.
Okay, so if I just sort of gave a bit about, there we go, that's the code that I work under. Question 4, describe 2 principles of the code you work under. Complete the table to describe at least 2 values that underpin each principle and how you would apply each principle to your work.
Okay, so that's a little tricky. The wording is a little bit tricky there. So what is a principle? What they're talking about here is the code we work under is the Code of Rights. So in the Code of Rights, there are 10 principles. So one of the principles is ensuring the client's right to privacy. So that's a principle.
Okay, let me fix my spelling mistake. There you go. And what are underpinning values of that principle?
The values would be that all the client's data is confidential and will not be shared with anyone outside of the organisation.
Right.
That the client's requests for not including others in their treatment, for instance, they wanted to stop smoking without anybody knowing. You respect those requests for privacy.
Oops. Great. Okay, and how would I might apply this ethical principle in my work? So I suppose by keeping it confidential.
Yeah, keep it, all client records are kept in a lock file.
Okay.
And they are not shared with any other people without the
Express
client's
permission.
consent. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay, so then so you're describing, so two of the principles. The second principle, you can do whatever principle you want, same sort of information, but actually if we look at the answers that are in those boxes, there's not a lot of information, it's not screeds and screeds of information. That'll be okay to submit if we sort of look like that, Grant?
Yeah, sure, and that would be fine. You've met the standards there, you've answered the questions, you have done it all well, so that would be the standard. And remember, the learning guide we showed you just before, it has all the principles of the Code of Rights listed out and how you apply them in your workplace. So if you get a bit confused, you can just go back to the learning guide and reread that section, and that will guide you on how to answer these questions.
Right. Okay, so question number 5, what are your ethical responsibilities to different parties? So this says, if you have a look at that, it says we need to complete the table, but we just need to have at least one ethical responsibility you have to each party. So, if we think about the code we work on in our organisation, the legislation and the workplace policies and procedures, an ethical responsibility I might have to my community might be, okay, if I signed up to a community event, that I would actually turn up to the community event instead of, if it was, let's say it was a Saturday morning, I wouldn't go out on the Friday night and have a few drinks with my friends and then wake up on Saturday feeling a bit hungover and decide not to go, because would that be a good example of?
That would be, yeah, so that's unethical behaviour. You chose to do the wrong thing.
Right.
So ethical responsibility is to your community, is you always do what you say you're going to do. If you promise something, you follow through. You turn up on time and you keep your commitments. You treat everybody with respect, and even if there's people there whose values you don't agree with, you can't be prejudiced against those groups.
Right. Okay. Nice. If I say I'm going to do something, I turn up and I commit to it. Okay. I turn up organised. Oops. And ready to go. Ready to go. Okay, so that third word is one. So you really ought to give at least one person I'm supporting.
Ethical responsibility. So the person you're supporting, they're probably quitting smoking, so they might be a little irritable or angry and short-tempered. So your ethical responsibilities are to remain calm and professional at all times, to respect all boundaries, so no helping yourself to the fridge, for example, to get a drink without being asked, all of those things. So respecting the boundaries, treating the person as an equal, making sure that their whānau are included in the discussion if they would like that to occur. All of those things that most of us do every day.
So there's a good range of answers that you've got there. So I suppose, respecting the boundaries, doing what you say you're going to do. Not kind of cancelling at the last minute because, you left late. So actually you'd leave early, wouldn't you, to make sure you got there on time, And
it's also things like if you promise a client that you're going to send them some resources in the mail, or you're going to come back this afternoon and drop off their stop smoking medicines, and the afternoon comes and you just can't be bothered.
Right.
And that's unethical because you've made a commitment and a promise and you've chosen not to do it. All of those things.
Right. Okay. So to my colleagues, same sort of thing, I guess. So often, so we're sitting here doing this today. I could have easily not turned up today. Then, we would have been on the back foot if I may have been doing this on its own. So I'm pleased that I was here today because I said I would be here. So,
And it seems like, if something gets broken in the kitchen and you did it and you pretend that it wasn't you and someone else gets the blame and you don't do anything, or if something goes missing in the office and you know who did it but you're unwilling to say, these are all unethical responses. So your responsibility to act ethically is to be truthful at all times. If you notice colleagues doing something illegal in the workplace, you notify the manager about it, even if they're your friend. All of these things are your ethical responsibilities to your colleagues.
Okay. I guess, and the last part of this question is to myself. I guess so. For me, I like to be prepared. I get a bit nervous when I'm not prepared and I start to freak out, so that I know that for me, if I'm planning to do something, then I've got all my bases covered. And that way then I know that, you know, the way I'm working is fair to the person I'm working with, but also fair to me and fair to my colleagues. So really, I always want to be prepared at all times. How about you, Graham? What do you like to do?
It's always good to, to look after yourself. You're not helping anyone if you're exhausted, if you're spending 50 hours a week in the office because there's so much work to do. So it's about looking after yourself.
Knowing your limits, is that?
Knowing your limits. Yeah, and it's also, if you're in a health role, it's role modelling good health. So it's not okay as a health professional to be seen smoking tobacco. It's probably not okay to be drunk at work. All of these sorts of things are ethical responsibilities that you have as health promoters or health professionals.
Nice. Okay, so now it's part 2. And this one's we're identifying our own personal values. We have a look at this. It's wanting us to describe 3 personal values. So they're just things that are, values for you, your own personal values. So if we go through all of this, it's all pretty self-explanatory there in terms of just ensuring that we read it all so we know what we're talking about. And here we go. So actually here is an example. Personal value, I don't drink alcohol. Why is it important to me? It tells us. Describe a scenario. There's a scenario. We've got an example there. So if you read that, it should be pretty straightforward to then answer your values here in terms of your first personal value. So actually you're sort of looking at that and then you're kind of describing your own personal values. So you've got to do 3 of those. So 1, 2, 3. So you'll be able to do that pretty straightforward. And if we move through to the options about your organisation dealing with disputes and conflicts. What might that look like, Grant?
So every organisation should have policies in place about dealing with complaints, about grievances, about disputes that occur inside the workplace as well as outside the workplace. So we need to read these policies so we have an understanding that if we meet disputes or grievances in our work, we know how to follow the policy and address them, and that way keep ourselves safe, the client safe, and our organisation safe. So, for instance, our policy is when we're dealing with our policy with dealing with clients is that we always dress appropriately, we're always on time, we treat everybody as equals, and we make sure that our client case notes are always filled in at the conclusion of each meeting with them. So that way, if anything concerning happens after we've left, we have evidence on our case notes of what we did and what we said that will keep us, the client, and our organisation safe.
Okay, so one of the other policies that we use here is that actually when we're running the hubs, I always make sure that everyone knows the chain of command, so that if they're not happy with my work, then they're able to contact Hayden, who's our clinical supervisor, and he looks after all the clinical information. So that way, then I know that actually that keeps me on track. But also they know how to get hold of him. I explain it to them clearly. But if you can't get hold of me or you're having problems with anything I do, then here's my boss's number so that you can then contact them if you have a problem. So they understand. They understand the different levels in the port of call in terms of who they must see. Make sense?
I mean, so you might be visiting a client in a home visit, and everything goes well, and you leave the client, and when you get back to the office, the client has rung your organisation and said that $20 has been stolen from his wallet, and he suspects that it was you, the practitioner, who did this. So you've got a member of the public, one of your clients, complaining about you, and so policy would then come out, and the manager would probably meet with you, and then you would explain what had happened or what didn't happen, and then the policy would then ask that the manager recontact the client and find out if the money had turned up, and so on and so on. So you need to describe that sort of process that's in place for your work site.
Right. Okay, and then I guess and the final part of this assessment is actually you need to discuss this with your manager and get them to verify it. So it's pretty straightforward. And then there's a verification form here that your manager will sort of tick, so it's pretty straightforward that they confirm that you constantly demonstrate these attributes ethically. So I get them to sign this off. Once they've signed it off, I've got, they're going to have their name, their role, telephone number, email. And then it just gives you an idea of, how you should be saving this document. Our website doesn't save documents automatically. It is a Word document. What you'll need to do then is save it with your first name and your last name and then task 1. And then you'll email it to nts@inspiring.org.nz. So this will come to Sue, and then she will send it on to one of the assessors. So make sure you send this in a Word document or a PDF would be great. If you send it in those forms, then our assessors are able to then create any comments on your assessment task. And if they have any problems or require any additional information, they'll just be able to send it to you. So can people pass or fail this?
You can't, you achieve if all your descriptions of what you do, based on what the questions are asking, meet the standard in the unit standards, then you achieve those. But you can't fail. You can go back and you might misread the question, for instance, and you might describe an ethical behaviour without really knowing what it is. So you've really not quite understood what ethics is, and you've got the question not quite right. So you won't fail you. What we'll do is we'll point out that this is not quite what ethics means. Remember that ethics is about choosing to do the right thing. Have another go at answering the question. So you just answer that one question that you've got wrong, not the whole document, and then you resend it in, and once you've met the standard on that one question, then the whole thing is achieved and done.
Great. So I guess that gives you something to think about. And if you have any problems or any questions, you'll just go to the contact page on our website, and you'll be able to get hold of Grant or myself, or feel free to ring the office here. We are often available, and we'll make sure that we come back to you. So I guess that's all we've got for you today with Assessment Task 1. So have a look at it. If you have any questions, come back to us. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing you when we do another Assessment Task tutorial.
Thank you.
See you.